Hi, thanks for joining in. Hi, New Beans. Thank you for coming in. Hey, Tisha. Thank you guys for joining. I want you guys to invite your followers. Hey, girl. If you can, invite your followers. We're going to be talking about self love tonight. Thank you, Tisha, for inviting your people to come on. I am not feeling my best today, but I decided to still come on and do this scope. I wanted to come on all this week in the group. I have been sharing about self love because I think many of us deal with the issue of learning how to love ourselves. And sometimes that may stem from things that have happened to us in the past or the words that people have spoke over our lives. And sometimes just with the things that we speak into our own lives. That's why we need to be very careful about what we speak over ourselves. And self love was a very, very big issue for me. And I'm just going to share a little bit about why this subject is so touchy for me. Because as a young child, I was born to teenage parents, and my grandmother raised me. So growing up, I may have looked like the healthy, happy person, but internally, I was dealing with the feelings of rejection and abandonment. Not that my mother wasn't in the picture at all, because she was, but I just wasn't living with her. So that just made me feel a little rejected. And then I had other siblings who actually lived in the home with her. So then that just really made me feel rejected. So growing up, I dealt with that feeling of abandonment and that feeling of rejection. And then hearing words from other people, you know, who pretty much had written me off to say that I would never amount to anything, I was no good. When you hear those words and you hear certain things over and over again, you begin to internalize that and you begin to believe it. And that's where I was. And for me, it was hard to get past that. As I became an adult, I began to understand why my mother made the decision for my grandmother to raise me. But as a child, I couldn't understand. I became a teenage parent, and you can only imagine what I heard during that phase of my life. So those words began to take rule. I began to believe what others were saying. And so I lived that way for a very, very long time, thinking that I was exactly what everybody was saying I was. I had a lot of self hate. Then going from one bad relationship to another bad relationship, there was plenty of violence in some of those relationships. They were very toxic. So then there came this feeling of, why am I not good enough? And I think a lot of people deal with that, feeling like, why am I not good enough? And it took me a very, very long time, as I'm sure if anyone of you on here has ever dealt with that self love issue, to get back to a place of finally loving yourself. And I have to be honest, I was in my late 30s before I ever got to that place of really truly loving who I am. You know, even accepting and loving how I looked. I talk about this all the time because I was teased about the freckles in my face. I was teased about the size of my nose. Those things really carried a lot of weight in my life. And they just made me feel ugly. They made me feel like I wasn't beautiful. They made me feel like I wasn't good enough. But as I came to Christ, I started to learn that it's not my outward appearance that makes me. Hey, Sarah, it's not the things that people say about me who makes me. You know, yes, I have freckles. I love my freckles. Yes, I have a big nose. I love this big nose. You know, I love everything about me now, but I did not in the beginning. I really and truly, glad you're on, sis. I really and truly, I was just telling Sarah, I was talking about self love and I was sharing with them how I came to a place of not loving myself and dealing with abandonment and feeling rejected as a child. Thank you for sharing, Sarah. And dealing with those issues and the words that people said that I was no good, I was never going to amount to anything. Oh, I mean, just being talked about on every level. And the sad part was, it wasn't being talked about by people on the outside, but when your own family is talking about you, that hurts to the core. So you begin to internalize that and you begin to believe what people say. So you walk around thinking, I'm never going to be anything. I'm never going to amount to anything. And when I became a teenage mother, they really made me feel like I was less than anything that God ever said I was. Tisha, you cannot love others until you love yourself. And I really did not understand that. And like I said, I was in my 30s before I ever came to a place of truly loving who I am. And that's why it was easy for me to go from one toxic relationship to another toxic relationship to another toxic relationship because I didn't love me. I didn't know what I was worth. So I was willing to accept whatever I got just for the sake of saying I'm in a relationship. And we have to understand that when you don't know who you are, you will settle, you will accept, you don't know your value, you will take whatever someone gives you just for the sake of saying that I am in a relationship. Thank you guys for coming in. I hope you invite your followers and you'll accept that because you don't know who you are. You don't value, if you don't value you, you can't expect for anyone else to value you. You can't find value through someone else. You have to learn it for yourself. You have to know who you are. It is important. And loving yourself doesn't just mean loving yourself. It means taking care of yourself spiritually. It means taking care of the physical you. It means taking care of the mental you. You have to take care of all those aspects of your life in order to truly love yourself. Because if you're taking care of one area and you're neglecting all the other areas, there's somewhere in there that love for yourself is kind of fickle. So you have to say, you know, what is it about me? What is causing me not to love myself unconditionally, 100%? Why am I looking for someone else to show me love when I can't love me? Because see, this is what happens when you don't love yourself and you're looking for someone else to love you. They're only going to give you what you think you're worth. They're only going to give you what you think you're worth. So if you, we do attract people that abuse us when we don't love ourselves. Because we're willing to take whatever they give because we don't understand the value of you. If you don't understand the value of you, then you will accept whatever someone gives you. If someone is constantly in your face, putting you down, if they are physically, mentally, or emotionally abusing you, it's because you feel like you're not worth anything more than what that person is giving you. Once you understand the value of you, you will make a decision never to settle for anything less than what God has promised you or what He says that you deserve. So, again, Self-love. How did I move from not loving myself? Sarah, let me tell you something, because I think that this here is a taboo, especially in African American community. I went through a lot of struggles. Anyone that knows my story knows that I was in an abusive relationship. There came a time where the relationship was so toxic that I almost lost my life behind it. I was stabbed by the person that loved me and who I claim to love. It took a lot of counseling. You're welcome, because I'm always transparent. It took a lot of counseling. It took a lot of therapy sessions for me to get to a place of loving myself, but it also took that relationship with God. Because I promise you, if God had not intervened in my life when he did, we would not be having this scope right now today. Because I either would have killed myself, or I probably would have overdosed somewhere. Between the drugs and the alcohol, wanting to die, I wouldn't be here. So it took a place of making a decision that something in my life had to change. Because if it didn't, I was going to die. Yes, Tisha. And that's exactly how I felt. If I didn't kill myself, I was probably going to end up killing someone else. So either way, we wouldn't be on this scope. I was angry. I was full of rage. You couldn't even look at me. And I was ready to cut you. Something had to change. And my daughter, one of my girls, came to me and said, and told me to my face, she said, when you come home from work, we have to sit for a minute before we realize what person is walking through the door. They didn't know what mommy they were going to get. She said, and that scares me. You scare us. And in that moment, I knew that I had to take control and change something in my life. I started going to therapy, and I don't have any shame in it. I went to therapy. I counseled with my pastor. I had someone in my church that was on call who was my accountability partner. She didn't care if I called in the middle of the night. If I needed her, she was always there. You have to get help. Especially when you're at a point where you're so low that you don't even know if you want to get up and live the next day. You got to seek help. There is no shame in reaching out to someone and saying, I am drowning and I need help. I think we tend to think that we can come through things on our own and we don't need other people, but I'm here to tell you that is so wrong. We do need others to help us. God put us here to have relationship. And if you don't have relationship with other people to the point that you can reach out to them when you're in a drowning, sinking situation, then what are you doing? In those sessions, I had to, yes, you have to send up a flare. You have to send up a SOS. You have to tell someone that you need some assistance. You just have to. But the thing for me was, not only did I have to do that, yes, like the boat, girl, I felt like I was going to drown. I was drowning in my own mess. I was in such a dark place that I didn't ever think I was going to come out. And the sad thing is, people were walking by me, seeing me every day, And nobody knew how deeply I was sinking. Nobody knew I was drowning. Nobody knew. I mean, it wasn't until recently that I like really gave my mom my everything, that I was really transparent with her about the drugs, everything. She had no clue. She had no clue. I was functioning in my mess. That's how good I got at what I did. I called myself, I was like a chameleon. Yes, that was a battle, Sarah, for me for a long time. It, and at first I thought that I was controlling it, but it was controlling me. And I went on like that for a number of years. I was functioning in my dysfunction. I got up, I went to work every single day. Every day. I might have been high when I went, but I went every day. And so many people didn't even know what I was dealing with when they were in there looking at me every day. Rhonda 28, and that's why we have to be transparent about the things that we've gone through. So it was really bad for me. It was really bad. It was really bad. And for me, I'm going to tell you where the freedom began to come in is when I went back and dealt with that little girl. See, what happened was I was the grown woman that you see, but that little girl was trapped inside of me and she was so broken. That little girl was broken. Oh, wow, Rhonda 28. See, and this is why it's important to release the mess. Because all types of things can happen when we're walking around trying to internalize our mess and not releasing it. All kinds of health things can happen. But I had to go back and deal with that little girl because that little girl was so broken. She was so broken that the grown woman just could not heal. I couldn't heal. I was trying to put a band-aid on things that I needed to go back and snatch up from the root. And that's what I think we do a lot of times. Yes. I know, Sarah, I'm telling you. I mean, sometimes I used to say, God, why would you allow me to go through so much? But I understand why he allowed me to go through so much. I used to be angry. I was so mad at God. I was so mad. And one day I just screamed out and I just told one of my girlfriends, I was like, I am angry with God. And when I released that thing, and she told me, she said, you need to go back and look over everything that you went through. She said, and tell me to my face that you can't find God in everything that you went through. And I could. Because if God hadn't have been in every situation that I've been through, I wouldn't be here. Some of the stuff I've been through, yes, our tests become our testimony. And what I realized is some of the battles and some of the things that I have gone through, most people probably would have had a nervous breakdown a long time ago. I couldn't allow it to kill me. And Sarah, you talk about purpose all the time. And I didn't know what my purpose was. Now I understand all about my purpose. This is my purpose. My purpose is to show other people that it may look like you can't come through. It may look like you are sinking. It may look like you're at the end of your rope. It may look like you can't go any further, but you can. You can. but you can't do it alone. In your dysfunction, because functioning in your dysfunction will almost take you out of here. To deal with a lot of this in my life, and sometimes I'm still dealing with dysfunction. Handle. So I just wanted to thank you guys for coming on. I'm on every Monday night at 7 o'clock. I was coming on at 7:30, but I've decided to come on at 7 on Monday night. So you can have Straight Talk with Chris every Monday night at 7. We do have a Facebook group called Straight Talk with Chris. So if you are on Facebook and you want to join into that group, please join in, because we have a lot of conversations about a lot of different things. And it's mainly things that women have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. There are people who have questions, something you're interested in. I ask you to go to Facebook and join Straight Talk with Chris. I will be back on next Monday. I love you guys, and I thank you for joining in. Have a good night. Well, I think I'm going off.